Boys
Run On.
Boys Run On.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Get more into that. You're welcome.
I'm going to send it over to Dr. Wolin now, who's going to present to us.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it. Like you said, I'm Dr. Greg Wolin. I'm a chiropractor here in town. I've got a practice right across from Nativity Church. And before I get started, I want to tell you kind of a funny story, because part of this stuff you're going to see on the slide, mainly our logo, is going to be a little different next time you see it. You know how it is for those of you who have created a logo for anything. It's an arduous process. It takes a lot of time. You're constantly going back and forth. And every time that logo came back, we just couldn't get the colors right. There was something about those colors that just didn't pop, just wasn't what we wanted. Everything else was looking great. So the other night, my son and I are going to go for a walk after dinner, and I'm one of those health freaks. I eat impeccably well. I don't eat junk food. I mean, I do sometimes. I shouldn't say that.
Eat junk food.
Oh yeah, it's okay.
And we got some fruit, so you can have
Sure, you don't. But I usually don't. You know, I'm usually really good about what I eat. But we're walking out of the house, and we're walking out of the driveway. We've got a custard light ice cream is right around the corner from us. I'm like, you want to go get ice cream? Because I don't know why I had this craving. He's like, yeah, of course. He's an 8-year-old at South Davis in second grade. He's going to want ice cream any chance he can get. So we get on, and my go-to there is the M&M Avalanche. I just love it for whatever reason. So we take it back home. We're sitting on the tailgate of the truck, and we're just hanging out, talking, eating. And I look down in the cup, and I see a blue, a green, and an orange M&M swirled together. And I looked, and at that moment, I realized those are the colors that we want for the logo. And how fitting. You know, part of this program is going to be about health and wellness, but let's face it, you know what? Kids are going to snack, they want treats, they love them, and the colors for the M&Ms. So when you see the logo here show up, colors are going to be a little different next time you see them, but that's our logo. So the name of the program is Boys Run On. We're calling it BRO for short, which, believe it or not, I field tested this one with my son and his friends, and they love it. As soon as they heard that BRO, of course you can imagine what happened. They're bouncing around, they're fist bumping each other. Hey, bro, what's going on? Because it caught. Where we came from is kind of an interesting story, too. And I really have to thank Fernanda and Lisa for this one, because if it wasn't for the two of them kind of giving me the kickstart, this program wouldn't be to the point that it is. When my son started kindergarten, everybody knows that the schools have Girls on the Run. Everybody's heard on it. Okay? It's a fantastic program. It's international. They do a fantastic job. But right from the get-go, I realized there's nothing for boys. Like, we're missing that huge demographic that they need something too. And I was constantly racking my brain. What can we do? What can we come up with? Well, Fernanda and Lisa approached me. I was co-chair for Movin' and Groovin', which is one of the fundraisers at South Davis. And shortly after that, they approached me and said, hey, you know what? We're looking into this program. It's going to be a boys program. What do you think about it? I'm like, I'm in. I just jumped on board. Whatever you guys need me to do, I'll do it. I loved it. So we started to look into the program a little bit, and we realized that it was missing some things. There's some real important parts of it that just weren't there. And I looked at it, and I sat down with Lisa, Fernanda, and Mrs. Rassa one day, and I said, look, I'll do whatever you guys want me to do. You guys make the final decision, but I really think I can do this better. And I laid out my ideas and my thoughts about how I could do a better job with this. And that's how BRO program got started. So what is it? We're not-for-profit running an exercise program for boys, grades 3 through 5. There's been some interest from the middle school, so we're looking at possibly expanding that into next year. We're going to kind of see how it goes. But it's also, as you guys know, from a developmental standpoint, it's a very different demographic. So right now, our pilot program is in the 4 elementary schools here in Orchard Park. From there, we just plan on expanding as far as fate will take us. The end run goal for this program is to complete a 5K run, which is what a lot of these programs do. But there's so much more to this program than just running. Running that is going to be the end, but they're going to get so much more as we go through. What our mission is, it's to provide a health, wellness, skills development, environmental awareness program, providing the tools, the head, and the heart to make our boys successful in life. And it's really interesting, too, because we've got some real keys to this program that we've developed early on that are going to make it successful. First of all, we know that elementary boys need a number of factors to be successful. They're young, their brains are developing, their bodies are developing, they're trying to figure out where they fit in socially. But one of the things we know is that if children are confident and they feel very positive about themselves towards the end of this developmental period, that they're so much better prepared to move on in life, move forward, take risks that are going to really help them to be more successful and to get a better understanding of who they are when they start to venture into adolescence. This program has the knowledge base, we've got thought leaders, we've got a highly creative and competent board of directors that provide expert resources that we need to develop a curriculum that will allow us to attain the mission of Bro Program. Now, this program is really going to be designed to complement what their formal education is in school. Because let's face it, there's a lot that they get out of school, but there's some things, unfortunately, that they just don't have time to teach anymore. And that's what we're trying to fill in with this. And again, we have the people on our board of directors that are helping us to develop that the way it needs to be done. So the goals and objectives of the Bro Program. We want to provide easy access to something that's going to deliver a safe atmosphere for emotional expression, for growth, and for development. Necessary life and social skills that's not always acquired anyplace else. Proper neuromusculoskeletal growth, strength, and balance. These kids are at a really important time in their lives right now, and if their bodies don't begin to develop correctly, it leads to a lot of problems later on down the road. We want them to see their hard work pay off. It's the reward system, because that's what life is about. As you guys all know, when you work hard and attain a goal, you know how you feel when you get there. And that's our goal behind the program, is to give them something to work towards and to get them across that finish line. And an affordable way for all to participate in the program. Now, the objective for this is not to create better athletes, okay? I want some athletes to come because there's a lot of kids that are heavily involved in sports, and my goal has always been, and from the pediatric side of my practice, to make sure kids develop the strength and the balance so that when they do their athletic activities, they don't develop injuries early on that cause them to have to drop out for the rest and remainder of their life. But I also want those kids who are the non-athletic ones. You know, we all know that there's some kids out there that may never play a sport. They're just not athletically inclined. And that's okay. We still want them to come in to develop the necessary skills and to realize too that staying fit, eating right, and being healthy can actually be fun and help them grow up and be healthier. I don't know if you guys realize this, but in 1980, there were 0 cases of juvenile diabetes in our country. Not one. In 2012, there was over 500,000. And they're estimating there's over 1 million more undiagnosed cases. This is my job. This is what I do for a living, is to help people with this. But that statistic blew me away when I heard about it. And I want to change that. And that's where this program is coming from. To make these changes now, instill these thoughts and these habits in these kids while they're young, so that as they grow up, they don't become one of those statistics. Now, studies have also shown that sustained enjoyment and participation in activities that are designed to improve physical fitness and health during childhood and adolescence are highly effective in prompting regular physical activity as a lifestyle choice when they get older. Now, what are we going to provide? We're going to provide instruction and coaching in 4 main areas. 1, physical fitness with the neuromuscular development and coordination. 2, mental, emotional, and spiritual development. And by spirit, I don't mean it from a religious standpoint. That's your job at home. This is more for their personal spirit and personal confidence. Social skills. Think about this for a minute. Now, granted, they're elementary school kids. You know, they're at that time where they're trying to fit in. How many elementary kids do you know, though, when you say hello to them, actually look at you in the eye and say hi? How many know that if you want to meet somebody, or if you walk into a room where you don't know somebody, you walk up and say, hi, I'm Greg, how are you? What's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah, great to meet you. And look somebody in the eye to do that. They're developing, they may not get it now, but their brains are developing and they are absorbing everything that happens around them. So when you introduce these skills and these habits now, they're going to remember it later. They may not do it for 2 years down the road, 3 years, 4 years, but all of a sudden at some point in time it's going to click and they're like, oh wait, I remember, I learned this in the Bro program. And they're going to do that and they're going to implement those skills in life. And confidence building. Lifestyles are very different now. We're always on the go. And studies have shown that the confidence level of children, anywhere from ages 3 and up, is much lower than at any point other time in history. And we're going to have the tools necessary to build their confidence and help them grow in development. Now, each of these skill sets are going to be implemented using time-tested as well as the latest in research methodologies for this specific developmental age group. That's why I mentioned we're going to hold off on middle school for now, because it's a very different time period in life. So what's missing on this list? We hear it a lot. Every program seems to put this out there as their big plug word. But what's not on here?
Anti-bullying.
That's going to be part of it. We're going to talk about that later. But think about life skills. What's one thing that a lot of these programs are plugging? Leadership. Everybody's saying, we're going to develop leadership skills for these kids. We're going to help them to be leaders in life. But why aren't we going to do much with leadership skills? What do you think? As any of you that are involved in the school systems. Not part.
We're focusing on teamwork, and as compared to one person sticking out, you want them all to, root for each other.
Yeah, and be together. Because here's the thing, not every kid's going to grow up to be a leader, and that's okay. It's okay not to be a leader. I coach my son's soccer team. We've got 9 kids out on the field, and they're all leaders. What do we have?
Conflict all the time.
You got it. That's it exactly. All the time. We've got a losing team because every one of those kids is trying to get everybody else to do what they want them to do. So it's not going to work. And that's the key thing. But one of the things that research has shown is if you give kids the base skills, those leaders will always rise to the top. That always happens. So we want to give them what they need to just be successful in whatever they choose to do. And here's the key thing. What is the basis of being a good leader? Where does it start? What's the one skill that you've got to be able to have to be a leader? Confidence, huge one. Communication, another big one.
Consensus building.
Right? But these can all be summarized into one word.
Teamwork.
Here's the thing. You got to be able to play well with others in the sandbox. And it's all about relationships. You've got to be able to develop a relationship with someone. You could be the type of person that is a beautiful artist that creates amazing work in the attic of your house. You may be a recluse. You may be very uncomfortable in social situations. But here's the thing. In order for the world to see the beauty of your artwork, you've got to be able to create a relationship with at least one person. And that's what this is about, giving the kids the skills to create those relationships in life that will take them forward to do whatever it is they choose to do. Because as we all know, the world is open. There's a lot of opportunity in our society today. And that's what we want to develop and give these kids, is the skills they need to develop relationships so that they can then take them and use them however they want to. So, how are we going to do this? We've developed 8 guiding principles, our foundational values that are guiding the curriculum each week. Now, the program itself is going to be a 9-week program. The 5K is going to be run at the end. Each week, we have an overlying principle, and what we've developed is our bro wheel. Our bro wheel has these principles outlined. And now here's the key thing about this. I'm going to get into these in a moment, but when you look at a wheel, and this graphic's going to change a little bit too. We've been having all sorts of fun with our graphics. But if you look at that as a wheel and there's spokes coming out, if any one of these spokes is missing, if any one of these little circles on the outside is missing, that wheel's not going to roll right. And that's the analogy we can put to a child's life. And a child at any age can get that. If you're missing something, there's going to be a flat spot. There's going to be a lump. So these are the principles that we're going to use. I'm going to read you some examples of this. So first of all, our bro code. Our bro code is going to be the overlying guiding principle that we're going to be using in every single one of these other spokes. So bro code is going to be things like honesty, resilience, will, and drive. But also your spirit, integrity, accountability, and work ethic too. Okay? The next one, play. We're going to fuel is the next one, because we put these in a certain order too, because it's how we want these kids to learn these, because it's going to be things that are going to be developed upon as the program goes. Fuel is the big one. What are you putting into your bodies? What are we eating? What are we putting into our brains too? This is where the whole thing with positive thinking comes in. We've all heard it. Thinking positive can change your life. Studies have proven it. So what we think about determines what comes out of us. It's very interesting. There was a study that came out, this is probably back in like 2007 or 2008. They found that the average male speaks about 13,000 words a day. The average female speaks about 33,000. However, our internal dialogue, we speak to ourselves on average 133,000 words a day. So what are you telling yourself? Because whatever you're telling yourself is coming out in one way or another. It may not come out of your mouth, but it's going to come out in your actions, it's going to come out in your intentions, it's going to come out in your life. So what we're going to do is help these kids to change their internal dialogue to create what they decide to manifest. So then we've got play. Play isn't just about running around on the playground. Play is about enjoyment of life, how you can still work hard, you can do the things you have to do, you can clean your bedroom, you can pick up your socks off the floor and put them in the clothes hamper, but still really enjoy things. And then when there is that right time for play, when does it come up? When and how do we fit that in our lives? Learning. Learning is a big one, it's an obvious one, but here's the thing, it's not just about school learning, it's about life learning. We never stop learning. How observant are we? You know, it's interesting because kids, they're all over the place. I mean, it's amazing because if you really sat down with any child in elementary school, technically you could almost diagnose every single one of them with ADD. Because they're always all over the place, they're taking things in. That's just their brain development and how it happens. But we also want to teach them how to observe different things that are happening and going on around them. So that's part of the learning process. Family is a huge one. You know, and it's interesting with this one too, because think of the dynamics of the family now. I mean, how many, you had 4 boys? I can only imagine what supper time is like in your house. It's probably put the plates out, dish them out, and everybody, the assembly line comes and goes. And if they're involved in sports and other things, it's probably absolutely insane. Our families are always on the go. And the whole dynamic has changed. Think about, I know when I was a kid, and many of you may have had the same thing, we sat down and ate dinner together more often. Things were scheduled around because there wasn't as much going on extracurricularly. But now we know that there's a lot going on, but you can still have that close family bond. There's still things you can do to develop and keep that family bond the way it is. The next one is friendship. And this is where the bullying component comes in, because that's part of this friendship one. This is about teamwork. It's about development and working together. And how do you treat anybody else, no matter what they are, if they're like you, if they're not like you, if they're a friend of yours, if they're very different. Because everybody needs to work together to be friends to develop those relationships we need. Earth. This is a big one. Our Earth is falling apart. You know, we've got global warming, we've got masses of plastic in our oceans that are the size of countries now. It's amazing. And we've got to teach our kids growing up what they need to do to help preserve the Earth and things to change. So for every one of these weeks, we're going to have little pieces of homework, little things the kids are going to do for each one of these. One of the big ones for Earth is we're going to clean up our running routes and we're going to clean up our schools. All the schools have spring and fall cleanup times. The kids are going to come and help out with that. Because it's about protecting our Earth. We're going to teach them that if you're walking down the road, it's okay to pick up some garbage. At least clean up maybe around your house. You know, if there's garbage laying around, pick it up, throw it out. Don't throw wrappers on the ground. Just the little things like that to protect the environment, because I'm a little scared as to what it's going to be like when they're older and they have kids. So we all have to start now for this one. The next one is community. And this is a big one about supporting local, about giving back to your community. You know, finding a charity that you can do some work with, helping out people that need some help. Where can you put your skills as a person and a child? Even little ones can do this, as you all know, to give back to your local area to help support that, because that's hugely important. So this is our bro wheel. Again, this is something that I burned many hours putting this together, but it was very interesting too, based on just what I've done in my life, and again, what I do with the pediatric portion of my practice. It really kind of flowed, because this is something that is missing in almost every other program out there. So we're going to do something a little different too. We're not just going to do running. We're going to do other types of exercise, like we talked about, the neuromusculoskeletal growth and development. Because here's the thing, how many runners are here? Okay, Donna. How many of you have seen somebody running down the road? Yeah, exactly. And seen them running down the road thinking, I'm not doing that. But when people run down the road, how do they run? Heel to toe. And straight line, right? It's called running in the sagittal plane, okay? When you see a kid run, how do they run?
On their toes.
On their toes, all over the place. You can barely keep them on a sidewalk, let alone if they were walking down a street sometime. They're all over the place. They're running in different ways. So for the kids that are out and are active, this is great. They're developing musculature in different ways. Now, I want to tell you a little side note too. How many of you guys know somebody who's a runner, or have seen runners going down the road and you look at them and you're like, Or maybe people who are doing marathons, and you look at their body type and you're like, wow, you would think they'd be a lot more muscular. But somebody, they could jump out and they can run 26 miles like that. We've all seen that type, but here's why. When I talked about that sagittal plane, that develops one set of musculature, one set of muscle growth in your body. The problem is, to keep our bodies growing strong and balanced the way they're supposed to, we need to develop musculature all over. You've all heard of core strength. You know, core strength is one of the big buzzwords now. Our core is comprised of a lot of muscles that running doesn't build all of them. So what we want to do too is, there's going to be kids that will do this program and they'll do the 5K, but that may not be their thing in the long run. So we want to teach them other ways to exercise and other ways to do things, so that instead of running down the road just in one straight line, which it's something interesting too. If you look at kids, and if this is all that they did was run, their bodies developed extremely different. You know, how many kids have you felt that are active, but they still feel kind of soft? They don't have a lot of muscular development. It's because it's how they're playing and how they're doing things. But then there's those other kids that are built like rocks. But those are the kids that are running, they're playing chase, they're playing tag, they're running, jumping, climbing. Look at how they run around the play sets, going up the slide and jumping across the ladders and everything else. Because they need to develop muscles in a very different way. And the program is designed to make sure that they do that in a very well-rounded way. So that they're getting that core strength, they're getting all the muscles of their body developed the way it needs to be. And to teach them how to do that in a fun way, so again, down the road, they continue to do it. Now, we've mentioned our board of directors and our thought leaders. We've worked with PTs, we've worked with exercise physiologists and doctors to put together these exercises. So it's the kind of thing where we're not just jumping on the internet and downloading a training program. I've consulted with the top minds in every area to put the best exercises together. We're still working on the curriculum, we're still putting it together, but it's amazing what's coming out of this. Now, interesting little side note here. Apparently, how many of your kids play Double Dog Dare? Or Truth or Dare, sorry. Okay, my son's in 2nd grade, that's their big thing now, okay? It's all about Truth or Dare. Well, what I didn't realize is that apparently, according to the 2nd grade society, in the game of Truth or Dare, if you try to do 2 truths in a row, that it automatically qualifies you for a Double Dog Dare, that you have to do it. And we all know you can't refuse a Double Dog Dare, right? Somewhere in my son's, the recesses of his mind, he thought that growing facial hair would make me look more manly. And he wanted me to grow a big bushy mustache. Well, when we were playing Truth or Dare, I always go for the truth because I don't trust his dares. I've had him say some of them, and we've had to talk about those. But so through some pretty intense negotiation, I got it down to what I've got here. And it's funny because I'm the type of person, there's some guys out there that can really carry facial hair well. I've never been one of those guys. I mean, I don't know if you can see it now. It's patchy. I'm missing a big strip over here. This has been 4 weeks, by the way. So to give you an example of what it's like, yeah, it's not happening. But apparently I have 2 more weeks to go before I can shave it off. So a little tangent there. But this is funny because I put this in here because this is some of the things too that we're going to do with the kids just to make this a fun program. Because the bottom line is, if you don't make it fun, and I've learned this through coaching soccer, I've coached skiing for over 25 years. If you don't make it fun for kids this age, they're gone. You're going to lose them. You're going to lose them in 3.5 minutes, if that. So this whole program is designed to keep them laughing, keep them going, keep them fun, and keep it fun and keep them focused. Now, in summary, Bro is a very unique program. I can guarantee you won't find anything else out there like this. We've developed it in such a way to make it this way, to give kids everything that they need to grow and develop the right way. Now, Bro is about the tools, the head, and the heart to help make our boys successful in this world. Because in the end of the day, that's what we all want for our kids. And all we can do is give them these 3 things and then let them take it and develop it the way that they know how. Now, there's a couple things that we need to start. It's a beginning program. We're just getting our feet wet. We're just getting off the ground. And as we're finding out, as you guys know from any fundraisers you do, any programs, the expenses start to rise very fast and go through the roof. There's some things that we really need right now is equipment. We're actually going to have equipment at every school that we use, that we participate in. because it's part of the training process for the boys, part of the things necessary to help them develop their musculature and their bodies in the right way. We want to develop scholarship programs because we also realize, and one of the things that I've always had in focus from day one is that there's kids out there that their families just can't afford another program. Maybe it's because they're involved in a bunch of things already. Maybe they're not involved in anything because they just don't have the funds to do that. And I want to make sure that these kids get the opportunity to come out and participate in something like this. And then we've got to train the coaches. The coaches training is going to be amazingly intense. We're going to be running with volunteers. And that's something you'll all see coming home very shortly, is just a request. So if any of you know of any dads who want to participate in this, to help with the coaching, just keep that in the back of your mind. I'll give you my information to take with you too, to contact me if you have some things. But here's the thing, is we're asking for your help. Now initially my goal was to try not to come to the PTOs. You guys are so financially strapped as it is, and you've got funds that everybody wants. But what I am going to ask for, and I have letters, is that if your PTO is able to do that for this upcoming fall program, we're asking for $250 to donate towards getting this thing off the ground. And we're going to specifically earmark that for the things that we need to run the program. There's a lot of other things that we need in the background, but that'll come through other fundraising sources. These are the things that we need to get the school going. So when those kids show up on day one, they have exactly what they need to go forward. So I have some letters that I'll pass around. If you're able to, that's fantastic. It'll help immensely. So thank you very much for giving me the time to do this. I hope you guys found it informative. And right now, do you have any questions about anything?